Hey guys, first video back in, man, it's been about 2 years since I did a review, but thought I'd get the camera out and go over my new E39 M5. This is a car that I'd been looking for a pretty decent amount of time, and I'm pretty psyched about it, pretty excited to share it with you guys. I'm a big BMW guy. I actually got a car dealer's license, so I've been buying and selling pretty much just BMW, so it's given me a lot of experience with different BMWs, E46s, E39s, more cars in general. And I had a couple E39 M5s, I've had E46s, all kinds of BMWs, and for whatever reason, the E39 M5, it's kind of grown to be my favorite. So I was looking for one for a while. Either wanted like a Mola red or Le Mans blue, or one of the kind of the cooler colors, and this one popped up on my radar, so I ended up picking it up. So without further ado, this is my BMW E39 M5 in Le Mans blue over Le Mans blue interior. It's got the sport package ostrich leather seats, and while the heritage leather is awesome, the seats are a little bit more comfortable. I prefer kind of the sporty look of the two-tone seats. This car has 127,000 miles on the clock. Not too many, quite a few actually, but not too bad for an E39 M5. In this video, I kind of want to go over what I like about it, how it compares with some of the other BMWs of this vintage 90s and early 2000s, and even maybe some later 2000s ones. And kind of just break down why I think it's probably the best overall M car BMW's ever made. So I'm going to go outside. We'll take a look at the outside of the car, hop back in, go for a little cruise around here, and then we'll hit some twisty mountain roads. This is a bit of a bigger car, a lot bigger than my E36, so we'll see how it does, but it has a Dynon suspension on it, so it should handle okay. But without further ado, we'll hop out. So here it is. Le Mans blue exterior. I believe that the E39 M5 came in Le Mans blue as well as Avis blue. Avis blue originally appearing on the E36 M3 in 1995. Le Mans blue, I do think they also use on the E90s, so it's a little bit of a newer blue color. But probably one of my favorites, besides Oxford green and Imola red. This is just the color that I was able to find, and when it got delivered, I was pretty happy with it. It's on the factory wheels. They're finished in shadow chrome, so they're a little bit darker than most of the BMW M wheels that you would see in kind of like a lighter shade of silver. This car has a lot of Dynon bits on it. It's got the Dynon exhaust. Obviously the Dynon badge that adds, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 horsepower. But yeah, Dynon exhaust, Dynon strut bar, and then it has the Dynon suspension. One of the ones that I had the factory suspension, and then another one that I had that I sold had the KW V1 suspension, the coilovers. And I feel like the Dynon suspension is it's the perfect combo of, it's compliant and soft, because this isn't really like an E36 or an E46 where you're only driving on mountain roads. It's a great highway car, and having that compliance is really nice, while also, waving at me, while also having just that lower ride height that looks really good, and then still an improvement in the corners. Dynon catback exhaust sounds good, not crazy loud or anything. This car is actually pretty loud on the outside. On the inside, it could be louder though. I think I'm gonna maybe add some intake side things, like a carbon airbox, carbon intakes, those sort of things, just to give a little bit more of an induction sound, because the exhaust, it's mainly because it has a lot of sound editing. It's just not the loudest car in the world. Headlights, it has the xenon headlights, the classic early 2000s BMW. It's that nice yellow glow with the halos. 2001 and newer got the facelift version of the headlights and taillights, while the 2000s retain the halogens that like the early E39s got. let's pop open the hood and take a look at that real quick. This car also has a big brake kit from, man, what was it? They just closed. Stop Tech, yeah. It has a Stop Tech BBK on it, so a little bit more stopping power. And then under the hood, it's pretty much stock. We got the Dine and Strut brace, but besides that, no other changes under the hood for the most part. With these cars, this engine, super reliable, S62, probably one of the most reliable V8s that BMW ever made. We'll kind of go into a little bit more depth with the reliability, the common issues, and that sort of thing when we get back in the car. But 395, I need new hood struts, 395 horsepower stock. I don't know the torque right off the top of my head, but I believe it's right around there with the horsepower number. 4.9 liters, so a lot bigger V8 than you got in the E90 M3, which was 4.0. So it does make a decent amount of torque down low, but it still revs out pretty good. It revs all the way to 7K. Not quite an S65, but still definitely really fun to spin out. This one has the Super Sprint headers, which should add a little bit of horsepower. I believe it does have a tune, maybe 15-20 horsepower on top, push towards the top end, takes away a little bit of torque. But besides that, pretty much all stock. I'll hop back inside now. I'll show the rear seats. You got gotta unlock it. Got the ostrich leather blue, Le Mans blue, two-tone. Probably one of my favorite parts of the car. This one doesn't have the full leather. Full leather would have leather on the dash, on the upper dash and the lower dash. This one just has the extended leather, which included the leather right here on the center console, and then leather door handles and such. I do believe that all M5s got the extended leather. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they all got that. Rear seat, super clean. You got the privacy shades, so all the brokies aren't looking at you in your 25-year-old BMW in the back seat. And then this one had the optional rear sunshade that pops up and down automatically. So overall, super clean. It doesn't really look like anyone sat back here, which I'm super pumped about. And you got nice little armrest here with no cup holder. I don't know why BMW refused to put cup holders even in the back seat, but just something they did back then. Let's go ahead and hop in. From the driver's seat, you have a really good driving position, I would say. It's not an E36 or an E46. You're definitely sitting a bit higher, but not horrible at all. It's interesting that the E39 M5 was not kind of specially made in a separate area like the E36s or the E46 M3 or most other M cars. They pretty much put together the E39 M5 on the same assembly line and production line as the regular 5 Series. So maybe it's less special because of that, but one thing about this car specifically, and I've experienced this in other E39s as well, is the build quality is just, it's impeccable. You kind of heard it when I closed the door, but everything is just put together so well. Even compared to more modern BMWs, maybe I got a chance to drive an E60 M5 recently, which was pretty fun, and I'll be able to draw some comparisons with that later on in the video. But that interior, it had a lot more, maybe not more plastic, but it had more creaking plastic. Everything was less, it looked visually really stunning, really appealing. It probably looked a bit more fancy and better looking than this, to be honest. But the way that everything came together, it just wasn't as perfect. At least for me, I'm an E46 guy, I'm an E36 guy. I like the 90s and 2000s BMWs the most. This is peak to me, honestly. This one has the metal trim. It really helps to make the car feel more modern than the ones that have the wood trim. I love the wood trim as well, but it definitely feels a bit more like an old man car when you have the wood trim. Steering wheel is perfect. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. I think this is probably, outside of the E90 M3 steering wheel, or like the E90 Sport steering wheel, I guess, the M Sport steering wheel, this is probably my favorite BMW steering wheel that they ever made. It's just the perfect perfect width, perfect thickness, perfect all around. To the gauge cluster, you've got the beautiful classic BMW gauges. Hopefully that beeping goes away. Let me put my seatbelt on so it stops. You got the classic BMW M gauges in that gray color. You got the lights that go away as the car heats up so you don't over rev it when it's cold. Besides that, you've just got your readout, a very early version of, like, I don't even know what it'd be called, maybe iDrive on the dash, where it kind of tells you some of your readouts from the car. Obviously oil temperature on the dash, which is super handy to have, something that they didn't bother to do on the E36, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, just the perfect dials too. I'm always torn between the E90/E60 M3 and M5 dials and the ones in the E46 and the E39, because I love both, but I just think the simplicity and just the cleanness of the E39 and the E46 dials, it's just unmatched. So just wonderful dials, wonderful driver inputs when it comes to the way this one, it does happen to have a Dynon short shifter, so it's a bit tighter. Even the factory shifter though in the E39, it's different than the newer BMWs, at least in my opinion. It's still notchy, but it's just a little sharper, and the feel of the clutch and the manual gearbox in the E39s and the E46s, it's just a little bit different to me. I've never had the pleasure of driving like a Porsche or anything like that with a manual, so maybe I don't know what I'm missing, but as far as I can tell, it feels so good to run through the gears. You have very early iDrive with navigation. I don't think I have this set up, but screen works, which is super cool. Just everything else, it's just perfect because everything works. There's no squeaks or rattles, which is just crazy for a car that's basically 26, 27 years old. Got a nice suede headliner that's not sagging, shockingly, which is super common. Leather stitched sun visors, and then yeah, just the perfect interior to me. And you know, it's tough because I love my E36. The E36 is just probably still my favorite BMW like M car, just because it's so raw and it's so much fun. But the interior of the E36 is where it's lacking so much compared to something like this. So let's go ahead and start it up. And you hear that S62 rumble. One of the cool things about this engine specifically, and why I think it's probably the best V8 that BMW ever made, is it runs at a lower operating temperature than the M62, which is the non-M version of this engine. And the common issue with that engine is going to be the timing chain guides. They're made of plastic, and they tend to just kind of let go around 100,000 miles, and when you lose your timing chain guides, your timing can get out of whack and your engine basically explodes. But I'll stop for a second so we get a nice acceleration. Okay, so back to the reliability of this car. As we know, BMW V8s, this one unfortunately does have a tire defect electronical code that keeps popping up. I gotta figure out what that's coming from. All the tires are properly inflated, so it's some sort of sensor that I gotta figure out. But back to when it comes to reliability, that's one of the reasons why I would say the E39 M5 is probably one of the best BMW, probably the best BMW daily driver M car ever made. With the V8 in the E39 M5, it runs a lot cooler than the non-M version, the M62, and that results in those plastic timing chains guides, they just don't wear out as quickly because it's the heat cycling of getting really hot, cooling down. That's what really kills them, makes them brittle, and then eventually crack. And that's just not something that you deal with as much on the M5, purely because it runs at a lower operating temperature. Don't get me wrong, it is something like when you're at 220, 230,000 miles, it's probably something that you need to do. But it's not like a thing like with the S54 where if you don't do your rod bearings around, let's say 80, 90,000 miles, you're kind of starting to roll the dice. Chassis, same thing with the E39 versus the E46 M3, which I love the E46 M3. Like, it's a great car too, but when it comes to overall reliability, the E39 M5 is just, it's superior. The chassis, there's no chassis issues like you get with the E46. E46 M3 subframe pops like a, I don't even know, it pops like E36 rusty jack points. It becomes a major problem. You got to get it reinforced, and that's a lot of money. So that's not something you have to deal with the E39 M5. There are Vanos things that can come up, not as common as on the E46 M3, so that's a plus. I had one of these with around 245,000 miles, I believe, on it. Original Vanos, rod bearings, timing chain guides, everything. That car had a lot of freeway miles. When you buy one of these, you really want to get one that's been maintained, because they are reliable, but you still need to maintain them. But yeah, none of those really super duper common issues on this car. Pretty much it's just stuff that comes along with being a bigger, heavier car. I believe curb weight on this thing's right around 4,000 pounds, so it's not a featherweight for sure. Compared to a new M5, it's like super light. But you know, any car that's that heavy, you're gonna start to see the suspension components wear out, the bushings, the shocks. All these things are gonna end up needing to be replaced if you want to have a car that isn't super sloppy down the road. Fortunately for me, this one has had the majority of that maintenance done, and it's mostly stuff that you can DIY, which is super duper easy and nice, because you don't spend a bunch of money taking it to the shop. Besides that, I mean, yeah, there's not really that many common issues with these. Again, maybe when you get to over 200,000 miles, you might want to look at the rod bearings. These do rev out high enough around 7K where if someone's constantly on it and not letting it warm up, you could eventually run into rod bearing issues. I have seen rod bearings that were replaced on this engine at around 240, 250,000 miles that still look mint. So with these cars, you really are just buying the previous owners and the maintenance history. So this one specifically, with 127,000 miles being a more desirable spec, I would probably guesstimate it's worth anywhere from 35 to 40, perhaps, with the upgrades it has with like the Super Sprint headers and those bits. But you can realistically get into one of these, maybe a titanium silver one, or a carbon black or jet black one, one of the less desirable colors with just a black interior. You can find them in the 20s for a clean one. Sure, you can find them in the teens too, but those ones, it's generally going to be more expensive for you in the long run than just finding one that's a bit cleaner. One of the cool things is, now that I have a dealer's license, I'm always looking for cars. So if you or anyone else you know is looking for an M3, an M5, one of these kind of more classic enthusiast cars, and you're kind of at a loss, don't buy one from a regular dealership. They probably got it on Manheim and they don't know anything about it. Check out my Instagram, hit me up, and I'll definitely help you find a good one for a good price. Getting into a bit of the twisties here, so I'm gonna let the window down and we're gonna pick up the pace a little bit. Go ahead and engage sport mode too. Nice little heel toe. Okay. We're gonna chill it out a little bit now. Let it kind of cool down a little bit and we'll wrap it up. So yeah, as you can see, it even though it weighs 4,000 pounds, I mean, it moves and it can handle the twisties pretty well. This is pretty like tight, technical little driving area. This car would do a lot better in a place like Angeles Crest or somewhere with a little bit longer sweepers. But yeah, I bring my E36 here all the time, and this car, I mean, it's no E36, but it can still handle the curves, and it has so much power. I mean, compared to the S52, like the S62 is just a total beast. But it just has so much more power. You can't really take advantage of that fully on the road, really, unless you're on the freeway. That's kind of where these cars really shine, really. It's on the freeway, kind of just cruising around in comfort with all the power you need in the world to pass people. I did recently get to drive an E60 M5, and that car was wonderful. It was actually a manual, Alpine white, so great spec. But you know, it was even faster than this. And honestly, the torque wasn't that much more crazy down low, because that's even heavier than this car is. But once you got past 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, I mean, that thing pulled. And at least to me, while that car was amazing, the V10 sounded wonderful. It's just a little bit more engine than at least I would ever need. And obviously the newer M5s, you got the turbos and all that stuff, and they're great cars too. It's just at some point you have enough power. And coming from someone that like daily an E36 M3 for a long time, like this, if you're not going from some crazy high horsepower car, this is more than you'll ever need that you get in the E39 M5. And yeah, when it comes to reliability, probably more reliable than an E46 M3 and pretty much any BMW that came after that. I think the closest competitor this car has, it's gonna come down to the E90 M3, because you get the same utility with having rear doors and a nice back seat. It's a V8, albeit a 4.0, not a 4.9. Where the E90 shines is that high revving nature where you just really rev it out everywhere. But like in that area I was just driving, most places you drive on the street, you don't really get to, you know, push it past 7K RPM all the time. And having the low down torque that this engine gives you with being a bit bigger than the S62, it really does make a huge difference. Oops, missed a gear there. It really makes a huge difference. So E39 M5, I'm gonna say it, I think it's the best daily driver BMW M car that you can get. And yeah, if you're looking for an M5 or an E36 or an E46, definitely check out my Instagram. I'm gonna link it down below. I help people find cars all the time. I'm always looking for cars, so it just makes sense to help people out. So if you're looking for something, message me there. I'm happy to help you find it. And yeah, I want to start making more videos. I want to start doing like comparisons and stuff. If you have a cool BMW, any M car, and you want to come out and compare it with this car or my E36 or another car, I'd love to do that with you. So definitely hit me up on my Instagram, and we can put something together. Anyways, have a good one. Thanks.